Mayor Adams saying a short time ago that the city's medical examiner is going to decide whether to test the gunman's brain for that brain disease, CTE. Joining me now, former TD Ameritrade chairman and CEO and former head football coach at Coastal Carolina University, Joe Moglia. Joe, this is just a sick and horrible tragedy all around. You've got an award-winning career, 25 years coaching football, aside from your Wall Street career. So, you know, you can talk about security, you could talk about football. Let's tackle the football issue first, if you could. What are your thoughts about this shooter's claim that he suffered from CTE? He never apparently played college or national football. He played high school. But, you know, there is this question.
You know, Liz, I couldn't agree more, first of all, how sad all this is, and our hearts go out to the families. But I think as far as football goes, you know, football recognized, whether the NFL, college, or high school even, quite a while ago, that brain injuries are a real serious thing that need to be addressed. And they've always talked about having better equipment, so we shouldn't even talk about that a little bit. But I think the real difference that has taken place the last decade plus has been a real commitment to protecting the players. So you get thrown out of a game if you don't hit the person, if you hit the person a certain way. I mean, you get thrown out of the game. I think one of the things we did in 2012 when I first began at Coastal that I'm really proud of, first of all, we very, very seldom hit. So you minimize the hitting. You also increase the probability of keeping your safety. But the other thing we did, I think, and a lot of this is education, learning how to make a tackle, learning how to make a block, understanding that if you do it a wrong way, it can have an impact on your brain, showing film that can actually show the impact on the inside of the head when you hit a certain way, really, really helps the players have an understanding of not putting themselves in that position. So everybody's gone a long, long way, and the first priority, the number one priority, is making sure you take care of the players in terms of their health. It doesn't matter what level we're at.
Indeed. And let's look at the security aspect of this. This building had security. In fact, the police officer who was killed was an off-duty police officer who was trying to make extra money. His wife is pregnant with their third child, and he was shot and killed. There was another security guard who was also shot and killed. But I would think that a building that has Blackstone, KPMG in the heart of Manhattan would have some kind of block or something like that. When you worked at Merrill Lynch back in the day, downtown, tell me about the security there and what always needs to be done here.
You know, Merrill Lynch Global Headquarters, we were only 200 yards from the World Trade Center. And we all know what happened on 9/11. In fact, I only lived about a couple hundred yards from the World Trade Center. And security, especially since then, has been a significant priority. And besides having people and guards, our technology improves from year to year to year. So there's got to be some way where you're walking through some sort of a mechanism where it can recognize you're holding a gun, you have a gun hidden somewhere, or some sort of dangerous
weapon. It wasn't even hidden. He was standing on the street.
That's why this is mind-boggling to me. How can a guy get away with, what, an AK-15? It's a machine gun or whatever the hell it is, walking down the streets of New York City holding a gun, and nobody says anything. Going into a building, there's got to be reception, there's got to be security, there's got to be those things. Now, I know it can happen. You want to figure out a way, you figure out a way. But, you know, for this to happen this way, it's really, really sad. But security is paramount in all of those buildings. Clearly, there's something amiss here.
Listen, it's just horrible, and as developments come, we will bring them to our viewers. I want to transition and talk about the markets really quickly, if we could. When we look at, not necessarily today, but the past 6 days, 4 days, depending on which index, we're seeing record after record. Does anything look like a bubble to you? You know, the Wall Street Journal just had an article talking specifically about the signs of a bubble. And when you look at the headline and you see, you know, 5 signs of a market bubble and investors are tracking it, and then you see what we have, you know, with these different meme stocks, so to speak. Tell me what you think about the markets right now.
Yeah, I think, Liz, you can create a little bit of a parataxis between the internet in the 90s and the euphoria around that and kind of what's going on now with regard to AI. but they're two different planets. I mean, they're two different worlds in terms of what's going on. We really did have a bubble then. And we had companies, anybody want to go.com, could go.com. They weren't great companies, et cetera. That's not what we have today. So I think as far as today goes, I don't see us having a bubble. The concern I had was more geopolitical with regard to the markets. And frankly, a few weeks ago, when we dropped the bomb in Iran, I think that sent a message to the rest of the world. And in so doing that didn't eliminate, but it minimized my concern about geopolitical. And you look at the economy, you look at earnings coming in, you look at inflation, you look at the impact AI is going to have. These are all really positive. And we have an administration that does want the markets to do well. It does care about the performance of the markets relative to how the president's going to be evaluated himself. And I think for the most part, we're really in pretty good shape. I am bullish and I'm long, and I have been for a while now.
I got to ask you, when you talk about bubbles, I'm not saying crypto is a bubble, but there is a lot of talk about all kinds of crypto deals. In fact, these crypto treasury deals. You are the chairman of a company that does asset management, and I'd just be interested to know, how much does that end up on your desk, the possibilities of being approached for these kinds of crypto treasury deals?
No, well, I'm chairman of Fundamental Global, and frankly, when things like this are going on in the markets, we do get approached about things like this, and kind of standard operating procedure is for us to be able to look at things and see what makes sense. And if we think something makes sense ultimately for us, and our people, we're going to wind up going ahead and doing it. And right now, the whole crypto world is hot. There's a lot of things going on with Bitcoin, a lot of things going on with Ethereum, things going on with Solana. And, there are more and more, some of these deals have already come to market. They're going to be more coming to market. And I think there are things that behooves an asset management company to be able to take a look at those. Really quickly, I mean, what is the case for getting involved in something like that? Well, I think, first of all, 5 years from now, I think the entire financial industry is going to be involved with blockchain. I think you look at stable coins. Stable coins 5 years ago, nobody even heard of them. The market cap was zero. Today it's 250 billion. Treasurer Bessent said specifically that I think since 2028, that number would be 2 trillion. A currency like Ethereum has 55% market share in those things. So the demand for crypto, the demand for Bitcoin, the demand for Ethereum, the demand for Solana, those are really, really just going to continue to explode and skyrocket. Yeah. So the market, so from a fundamental perspective, the market's trying to take advantage of that. Yeah, well, President Trump made it part of his platform, and he has been true to his word about that. Joe, good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. Likewise, Liz. Thanks for having me on. It was good to see you, too. Good to see you.